Hey guys, Digital Nerd here today with a computer programming tutorial. I'm going to be doing Python for this series, and I'll try to get it out every day if I can, if not 4 or 5 episodes every week. But it's a very easy thing to do since I'm already doing it all day, so it's like having a Minecraft video, because if you're doing it all day, you may as well film it. But I'm today going to be doing the very basic tutorial, so let's just get started. Let's not waste our time talking, because a lot of you probably don't care about what my channel actually is. You guys just want to see the tutorial. So let me open Python, and when you open Python, you'll get this. It's Python shell, they call it, but it's like a console. That's really all it is. It's a console. You can type stuff in, but unless you know what to type in, it won't recognize it. If we don't want to be programming this right now, you can. So any of the things that I teach you can be used here, just it's really complicated to get it all working, and it takes a lot of setting up. What you really want to do is go to File, New Window, and you'll have this. It's like Notepad or Text Edit or Microsoft Word or anything, because you can have multiple lines of text and edit. Anyway, let's just get started on the very, very basic command. First things first, actually, before we teach you the basic command, we want to tell you how the computer reads it, so how you can really learn what order the things you're typing are executed in. It goes top to bottom, which is pretty self-explanatory. So you can't have one command here and one command on the first and one command on the second and have them do it at the same time, because that's not how most programming languages work. It would be really hard to do that. Even with the most basic commands, it goes do that and wait until it's done to do whatever's next. So it's just an important thing to know, because at the beginning I was making stuff and I was going, okay, I want it to do all of it at the same time, and then I realized that it can't do stuff at the same time, so it's not the programming language you're looking for. But really, you never need it, because it's a computer. It's going to do the most advanced stuff that humans can't even comprehend doing in math and whatever you want it to do in like a billionth of a second. So let's get on with the first command. The first command I'm going to teach you today is print. It doesn't print stuff to your computer. It prints stuff to the console screen, which is the only screen that you can really print stuff to without any add-ons. The way that its context or syntax, you would call it, is it's print followed directly by open and closing brackets. Now, what you put in the brackets is what actually prints. You want to put, if you're going to just do text, you want to put it in parentheses, or not in parentheses, in quotation marks. So if we go, this is a text example, we go to run module, or F5, but I like to just go to run module. So, we save it. We're going to just save it to utest for YouTube and test mixed combined. And once we save that, we'll see the console opens, and it says this is a text example, which is just what we told it to do. I'm going to have the console over here and hold on, let me do some window managing for a second. Okay, it'll be easier to switch back and forth now. So what do we want? If we wanted it to print multiple stuff, we can, for example, copy this and then paste it, and it'll print, just as you see here, a bunch of this is a text example. If we run the module and we save it, it'll do what is this? 2, 4, 6, 8. This is 11. No, it's 9. I don't count. That's not a thing that I actually do. It's 9. Whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Now, like algebra, the next thing I'm going to teach you is variables. You put it in the same fashion you would do whatever you want the variable to be called. I tend to like X, just a fun letter for variables, I think. X space equals space, and then it can equal anything. It can equal a number if you want, and if you want it to equal a string, which is basically text, but that's what we call it in the computer programming world, you can have it save text. And then if we wanted it for example, keep in mind, if I said print x, which is what you would do, but not in quotation marks, because you might get tricked by that, because if it's in quotation marks, it'll print the letter x, but if it's not, it'll print the variable x. If we did this, it would say error, because like I told you, it goes top to bottom. So it first says to print x, and then actually tells it what x is. So that would give an error. If you wanted to have it really work, you put print x on the line after the variable x. It's always important to define what you're actually going to be saying before you print it or do whatever you're going to do with it. Now run module and save, and you can see now it'll print what the random letters that I typed in for x. I'm probably going to teach you about 3 more simple things about Python, and then we'll finish off this episode, because I don't plan on making these episodes too long each, but it really depends on what we're doing in the episode. We're not going to go like, and the final thing you need to put in to make it work is coming up in the next episode. I'm not gonna be evil to you guys and do that. Anyway, let's try inputs. So with inputs, if you just did input, which is a command, and then it's like the print, because whatever you put in here will be what it's asking you. So we could say, what is your name? And if we want to put a few like spaces, you don't have to, this is optional, but if we did it just what is your name without spaces, it would automatically be having your input right here, and it looks really strange like that. But with this, your input will be all the way out here. So it'll look less all combined and stuff. You could, in theory, just have one space, which is okay, I guess. But if we did this, it'll take your input in, which is fine. So it'll have a spot for you to type in what you want, but then it does nothing with it because it doesn't save it as a variable. And to get rid of that problem, you can just do x, or whatever variable you want. It can be a word, it can be a letter, but it can't be a number, because then if you went to print the number, it would print the number, not the variable. Which all of the information is probably really fast to take in, but that's the wondrous part of YouTube, where you can rewind and pause and hopefully not have to use a pencil, because that would suck if you were rewinding tape. You see what I did there? No? Okay. So anyway, and then you just do after it print x, which you don't have to do, but I'm gonna do it because there's nothing else I want to do with the x variable. I'm not gonna add anything else to it. It's fine the way it is. And now if we just did this, we run it and save it, this actually does something interactive, which, as you could guess, what is your name, and whatever you type in as your name, it prints. One of the things that we're probably going to add 1 or 2 things to, maybe, and we'll finish off for today. Print nice to meet you, comma space. And now we do plus, we end the parentheses, as you can see here. No, I get those confused, sorry. Quotation marks. We end the quotation marks right here, space, and then plus the variable name. Now, if you wanted to do plus the variable name and then add a period to it, you would do after the variable name another space, another plus, but instead of a new variable, you can just do that can resume it. So if you wanted to add any text after it, you can do it. And if we print and save this, it'll ask for your name, nice to meet you, comma, your name, and also a period at the end, so it looks more fluent. This is really cool. You don't have to type in that name if you want. You can type in anything. But it's all up to you. Knowing already, this isn't a whole lot more information than you would have to use in other ones, because you can keep in mind you can save. Why does it keep on doing that? Keep in mind you can also use numbers in this as a variable. And now, if you were to do math, a problem that you would get, let's say again x equals input what is your favorite number? Favorite number. And then, if we wanted to do math on it, which would be very simple, we could just do a new variable equals, if we wanted to double it, no, we can we can just double it. We can add x plus x, which would be very simple, and you want to put spaces in between that. And then if we just have it print, you want to begin with text so it explains what's going on. Double your favorite number is, now we end that off, do a plus and a y, which is the variable for x plus x. If we save and run this, one thing that goes wrong, what's your favorite number? 42, because it's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. It'll just do 42 plus 42, which automatically answers as 4242. The way that we can actually solve that is putting this before input. We put input in parentheses like this. So it's before the parentheses, we put int, which stands for integer, which means number. So it only takes the input if it's a number. Now, we can go to run module, not check module, we can run. And what is your favorite number? Now it should work. If there's something wrong, you see? Told you. Double number. Int to string. Now this is one more thing. Actually we do, sorry, bumping around my desk. The one last thing is this is saved as a number and it can't add it into a print. The way we would change that is basically do the opposite of integer. Now, I think I've told you this already, but in case you didn't catch it, integer is a number and string is any kind of letters. So you can put a number inside a letter, but if you said to double that letter by doing x plus x, it'll just say, if we put in 1, for example, for that number, it'll just do 11 because it doesn't know that's a number. The way that you can convert it from letter to number or letter to number, or string to number really, is you put, wrong one, put parentheses around this, and instead of doing int, we put str. Which is just something that took me like 2 years on stackoverflow.com. By the way, it's a nice Q&A with experts computer programming website that if you ever have questions, you can make an account through Google or Twitter or Facebook and ask your question away, and within seconds there will be 20 people answering it because the community there is really nice and helpful. But I'll put a link to that in the description also. And now, what is your favorite number? It should work. If we put 42 in again, 84. Perfect. So you can do math. Now, keep in mind, you can't do x for times. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't done multiplication that much. But if we put a star here. Oh, what? No. Sorry, my Skype is opening for some reason, which is really strange. Let me close that. Run module. Now if we put in 42, this might not work. Sorry. Nope. Yep, I did 42 times 42, I think. I'm not gonna do the math right now. You guys can tell me in the description if that's right. And we could just say your favorite number squared is anyway, yeah, it's a really fun thing to play around with, and you can do really fun things, like, what's one thing I can show you before we leave today? I'm going to show you if and else statements, which might be just a tiny bit advanced for first tutorial, but this tutorial has been going on 15 minutes, and I don't need to go in depth because, for God's sake, I have 5 subscribers who leave a comment and I'll answer it with a video if you want. But, let's, anyway, go to run module again, and just it'll be no different other than if we just put 2, which will be much easier. Why does it always do that, 2? Ooh, say your favorite number squared. Let's get on with if and else statements. First thing we want to do, like always, because this is whatever we do when we want an input, we'll do x, not x input. X equals input, which is nothing new to you, so I can just speed this up. Let's see. Sorry, I really like 42. And now, this is the if part. So we put if, and then what you want it to go. If this and this is true, then do blah, 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 blah. So if we do x equals, and then string, one. So 42. And then colon or whatever you call that, and you'll see it automatically has an indent, which means inside the if statement, we could say print correct, and now else, so if they put anything else in, colon again, it'll print incorrect. And run this, it should work. Invalid syntax, that's what it tells you. Now, one thing I did wrong, I forgot, when you're not doing variables and you want to do, for example, like equal than, less than, greater than, but for this case just equal, you put 2 equal signs, mainly for if statements. And now it'll work. So if we put, I misspelled universe, sorry guys. If we just put in whatever we want, it'll say incorrect. If I change this to universe, not universe, run it again and put in 42, it'll say correct. So that's just a fun way to do applications without having, there's really no other way to do that now that I think about it. There's no way that you can overcomplicate that. That's like already one of the simplest versions. And also if you want anything else, you can do an Elif, which is a mixture of else and if. So it's almost like having multiple ifs. So you can give multiple correct answers. So so Elif x equals string, and then inside that, instead of having the number 42, if we just have the word 42, and then correct again, and then we can do as many elifs as we want, but there's only one if, keep in mind. And there's also only one else. So the only one that can be repeated more than once is the Elif statement. And then else, we can print incorrect in our very mad voice. And run and save that, which is always what you'd want to do. You always want to save every 10 minutes, because if your computer crashes or anything breaks, it's the worst thing ever. Just warning. It's like if you wrote a 10-page essay and then forgot to save it and your computer crashed. It's the same thing, except this is function and not something that you're just doing for school. What is the answer to life, the universe, and everything? If we put in 42 now, it'll say correct. If we repeat that, I think there's a way to repeat it. I'm not sure though. Restart shell. no. We just have to go back here and do run again. F5. We could do it again. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. We can put in the number 42. But if we put in anything else, incorrect, with 8 exclamation marks, I'm not sure. But you can do a lot of things with Python, I hope. If not, then don't watch the rest of the series if this is boring, because you know that if you like it, you'll see a bunch of possibilities ahead with Python. Because really, there's tons of stuff you can do. I made a very intense program, which I'm going to be making a tutorial on pretty soon, hopefully. And let me open it. Let me open a new Python shell. Open recent files, and if we go to Math Tutor, this is it. It looks a lot bigger than it needs to be, but it doesn't need to be this big. I just added a bunch of extra things, so it does a bunch of math. And if you put in a word, not math, it'll say there's been an error in the system. Sorry for any inconveniences. Instead of it just giving senseless red error messages that the user won't understand. Come on, this message at the beginning, it'll ask you how many questions do you want. Let's just do 4 for the sake of having fun. What is the highest number? I'm gonna put that in better wording soon. But basically, this generates random numbers between 1 and whatever you set as the highest number. So let's just say 50. What is 27 plus 18? If we get some of them correct, and then it'll say that and do it again. And if we do 44, oh, my mouse is going everywhere. Now let's try getting one incorrect. Let's just type in random numbers for this one. And it'll say the answer. And I left how it has a time. That part's pretty fun. And for this last one, let's also get that one incorrect. And now at the end, it'll tell you how many you scored out of the amount you put in. I'm gonna try to get an averaging, so it'll like say you got this percent or this percent or this percent, or so it actually, I don't know how I would do that, but I'll try to figure it out. But yeah, but if I had to put in this in the simplest form possible, don't mind this because we'll get into imports next episode, but that's not the easiest thing to remember. Here is the input for how many questions. Oh, this is the scoring thing, by the way. At the very beginning, it says it sets just a random integer or a random variable to 0, and then every time you get a question correct, it adds 1 to that variable. So that's like a scoring thing of keeping track. And then if you get it incorrect, it doesn't take away any, but it just doesn't add. It doesn't change it at all. I generate two. This basically tells it to generate 2 different variables. That's a number between 1 and then the variable you put in as the highest number. And then this part, which is a while loop, which is just what it sounds like. It's a loop. So it'll infinitely do that. And there's a command you can use called break, where at the end, when you completed the amount of questions you put in at the beginning for how many questions do you want, it uses the break command, which basically breaks the repeating loop. So you can go to the end where it says your score. But I'm pretty impressed on how compact I made it. I actually do not need this part because it doesn't actually work or do anything. So it'll work just as fine this way. And all that this part is, which is if not x dot is digit, is basically saying if your input is not a digit or not a number, it says print there's an error in the system. Sorry for any inconveniences. And now what I'm just going to have to add is this, which I'll copy. I can do it on camera for you guys. I'll do it on these sides also for the numbers. I wanted to do that. That's because one of the things I wanted to do for this is, hold on. Let me put L, I think that is, yeah. If not L dot is digit. And for break, I think I can put end in. No, that doesn't do anything. If it does that, it'll just send the highest one to 25, I think, or no, to 50, because for the age range that I'm planning this for, that'll be high mainly for most of the people, but I mean, it's not going to be boring. So I'll just have defaults. L equals, so it's setting L to 25, no, 25. So now it knows right here, just so it's not like it doesn't have a highest number and it'll also say 1 plus 1. Like, not kidding though, even if you think that's kidding, it's not. And we'll add it also here and change, of course, the variable because we're not checking for X. We haven't used that yet. And we'll just set X to 5. No, what am I talking about? X will set I to 5. And keep in mind, this isn't going to do it no matter what you put in, only if you put in text instead of words, and text instead of numbers. Can't speak, sorry. It'll change it to a default, which will be 25 and 5, which you'll be able to edit somehow, maybe, I'm not sure. And it'll start the thing anyway, but if there's an error when you type it in, I haven't figured out a more intelligent way to do this, but if during it, when you ask what is this plus this, I haven't found a way for it to not just end the program. I haven't found a way for it just to go on to the next question and count the one that you didn't answer right as wrong. But I'll try to make that better at some point, because I will be making like a download of this once I've finished up all of the converting it to an application thing, which is pretty easy. It's not very hard. Not very hard at all. But I'll also give the file so you guys can edit it. But what happens in the math section after it's generated both of its random numbers, which it'll do every time there's a new question, it basically asks you what's first generated number plus second generated number, and before it tells you if you have done something wrong or if you've done it wrong or right, it automatically makes a new one. So it's like it double checks itself what the correct answer is before it tells you if you're right or correct. Wow, that makes sense. Wrong or correct, by adding them both together, adding said integers together. And once it's added them together, it goes, don't mind this, that's just the thing I was telling you about, the error system. It goes, if the input you put in is the same thing as what we just calculated, what the computer just calculated, then it'll print you are correct and add 1 to your score. But if it's not, it'll say you got it incorrect. If an else isn't in particular, it's just saying if it's absolutely anything else, then it'll print you are incorrect. And then it'll time.sleep, which is kind of like a delay, but you can't do that in vanilla. But I'm not gonna, don't try to do it yet, because it won't work unless you have the special things that'll teach you in the next episode. Prints this bar, optional, just for separation. I think it's pretty cool, but whatever, it's your choice. And that just does, it does a countdown. It does like a New Year's Eve countdown, which is a joke because tomorrow is New Year's Eve. But of course, depending on what time it is for you and when you're watching this, it might not be. But it counts down, and then it also says end the loop and go on to this. If you have, if there's none left, if the countdown is finished, it drops the glass ball. Okay, I have to really stop using Times Square New Year's Eve references, but it breaks the thing if there's nothing left and the countdown is completed. And once it breaks, when it's completed, it tells you your score. If there's any errors in it, it'll end there and tell you your so far score. Just a little thing. It's not very good, but you know, I threw it together for you guys earlier today. It's not very professional, but we can run and save it. If there's any problems, I'll work it off camera and then tell you guys tomorrow. And let me bring this on. How many questions do you want? If we just type in a random thing, there's been an error in the system. What is the highest number? This, so it'll set it to 25 and it'll set it to the highest number being 25 and there being 5 questions. And now what is 21 plus that? Blah, 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 35. Oh, I don't have it selected, sorry. 35, just let me, where is it? There it is. Sorry, if you click anywhere else, then it's weird. 35, you are correct, the answer is 35. What is 1 plus 8, which is on the lower side? 9. Answer is 9. What is 5 plus 22? Let's get the next 2 after this wrong. Like I said, getting these 2 wrong. And then, once we get it wrong, it'll say you scored 3 out of 5. If we try this again, and just put 2 questions, just for the sake of having 2 questions. What is the highest number? 1. It's not very hard. Put this one for the first, and then for the second, we put hello. It says there's been an error in the system. It'll just quit and tell you what you got. Just as like a closing message. And I'm gonna find a way, because I know there is a command somehow that is almost like the literal version of print and tells you, it actually prints to its printer, real paper printer. So maybe if there's a way, I'll make a fake email that's just like mathtutor@gmail.com or like whatever I call this at gmail.com, and it'll automatically email the parent what their score is when they're done. Saying like, your child did the math tutor test and got this out of this, with the highest score being this. I don't know, that'd be cool. But yeah, I've been really working on getting a computer operating system, which I might give like an introduction video to later, because I know that Python, if you guys are nerdy like me and have heard of all these tech related stuff and know the Raspberry Pi, that's basically a mini computer for $35 that you could hook up to a monitor and a keyboard and do whatever, but mainly it has a Python built in, so you have the option of making it so it runs a Python program for you. So I wanted to create a cool program and then just hook up a Raspberry Pi to it, so if I make one of those, I'll show you guys in a video. But yeah, I'm really excited about this series. I'm definitely gonna have to, you guys definitely need to tell me if you like how I'm having like half-an-hour videos, because I mean, if you're learning to Python, it's not like that's your plans for, oh, I have 2 minutes until I have to go to school because I got here a little early. Let me learn a programming language. I mean, if you're gonna learn a programming language, you probably have more than 30 minutes to do it. So tell me your opinion. If you think it should be shorter, I'll try making the videos as short as I possibly can. But this video is definitely my longest video ever, so I'm gonna have to end it off right here. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, or whenever I decide to post the next video. Either way, bye.